me, Dylan. I'm super excited to get another video out. Um, Thanks to all you that have recently been with me in the chat of the live streams following the case of Zachariah Anderson. Been loving it. Been loving interacting with you guys. But I want to do another video just as a placeholder a little bit because this is a case that I came to know about probably I'd say probably last month or a little bit end of January, and I've been intrigued with it ever since. There hasn't been that much info out about this case, but it's a case that I definitely want to delve into. It's a case that I want to see through, and hopefully, if it goes to trial, that is streamed and everything. So I'm hoping start now, see it through, stream it all, and then to have a conclusion on it. So you might be wondering what the hell this case is. Some of you might have heard about it, some of you probably haven't. But the case is based on a guy called Jared Bridegam from the Jacksonville area. Jared, unfortunately, died on February 16th, 2022. He just dropped his 9-year-old twin son and daughter to his ex-wife's home in Jacksonville Beach, and he was headed home because he lived in St. Augustine. These names, St. Augustine. He was in the car with his 2-year-old daughter, and as he was heading home, on the entryway to where he lived in the gated community, there's a tyre in the middle of the road. So Jared being Jared and anyone else would just got out and put it to the side. But as he got out, there was gunshots and he was killed instantly. His 2-year-old child, who was in the back seat in her chair, thankfully, I genuinely mean thankfully, was unharmed. So this episode, what we're going to do is give you a little bit of it, background of Jared, the key players involved, and where we're at up to now, as of middle of March. But essentially, this is quite a sad one, and I'm intrigued to see where it goes. So hopefully you join me in this journey, and we crack on, and we, as I say, we go through the trial together, and we conclusion from it. Yeah. So on that note, let's go. So, a little bit about Jared. He was born on the 29th of June 1988 to Gaylord and Joanne Bridegan in Warrensburg, Missouri. I'll just put a disclaimer here for this video and any other video in the future. I might mispronounce some of these things. I've never heard of Warrensburg before, and with my twang, it might not quite sound right, but hopefully Missouri is Missouri. Anyway, just wanted to put that out there. I mean, I'm not trying to cause any offense to people because I know some people get offended when you pronounce things wrong. I genuinely don't mean any offense with it. It's just I don't know how to pronounce some of these words. Um, so back to it. He was born in Missouri, and then he and his family moved to Jacksonville, Florida, when he was quite little. I'm not sure what age he was. It doesn't state, but he just says that he was very little at the time. And he graduated in 2007 from Douglas Anderson School of the Arts, and that I believe is in that kind of area. In 2014, he received a BS in digital media with an emphasis in cinema production, and that was from Utah Valley University in Utah, obviously. Um, so there, in that area, he met his first wife, who at the time was called Shana Gardner. They married in April 2010, and they had twins together. And when I mentioned first of all, he was dropping his twins off to his ex-wife. This is Shana that he was dropping the children off to. They divorced in 2015, and she later went on to marry Mario Fernandez. Um, and don't worry, we'll get into Jared as well. He remarried and everything, and had 2 children himself as well. So they ended up moving from Utah because Shanna was from Utah, but they moved to Jacksonville because their son, and I believe, and nothing's specified, but I believe their son had heart trouble or some sort of trouble, so they need to be at sea level for his breathing to make it easier. And I think Utah, I presume, has got high climate and something. So they moved to Jacksonville, obviously, with Jared's background in Jacksonville. That's where he's from. It just made sense. I know as we move on that Charlotte wasn't happy being in Jacksonville. I think she really missed home. And I think that may or may not have played a little bit of a part in their separation. So for his career, Jared, he worked for Microsoft. He was a senior design manager at Microsoft. So he did a really good job, and he was based in Jacksonville. Happy days. He's doing everything he loved, and he's also home where he was born. So all in all, he was quite happy. Do you know what I mean? As I mentioned, Jared got remarried to Kirsten. There's not much known about how the relationship got together, except for they met on a dating app, and they actually got married in 2017. I've not deep dived enough for that. I'm trying to be respectful as well, and I don't think there's that much information out there. And I think that throughout the course of this case, we'll get to find out more and more, and especially on their relationships and stuff. There's a little bit more information about his ex-wife and stuff, which I can do in a second episode. I think we could probably do quite a few episodes to cover a lot of the key players in this case. With Kirsten, though, Jared did have another 2 children. So in total, Jared is the father of 4 children. They are Liam, Abigail, Bexley, and London. Bexley was the 2-year-old that was with him when he dropped off his twins to Shana. So I'm going to play a short couple-minute video now. In it, Kirsten speaks a little bit about Bexley and what she remembers for the night. And it's heartbreaking to think some of the things that she remembers from that night. We know no child, you never want to see any child go through anything like this. And I don't think the full effects of the trauma, what she saw and what she heard that night, we won't probably know that for many years. I'm not an expert on it, and I'm not sure if she'd be capable of forgetting it. I don't know, but currently she remembers it. She remembers the gunshots and stuff. I don't think she comprehends everything, obviously, because she's only 2 years old. But it saddens me. But in the clip also, there's some heartwarming moments as well, in the sense that how she interacts with her mother and how protective she is now of her mother. It definitely played my heartstrings, and I'm quite soft anyway. But when it comes to these things, anything to do with children, your heart melts for them. But I think this would be quite significant for anybody when you realise what she's been through and how protective she is now of her mother. So, it had a big impact on me, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to follow this story. So with that, I'm gonna play it and see what you guys think, and see if it plays on your heartstrings, as it did for me. So here you go.
Shot and killed a young Microsoft executive and father while he was out for a drive with his toddler daughter. The 2-year-old is the only known witness and may hold the key to solving the crime. Here's Stephen Fabian.
Does this 2-year-old girl hold the key to solving her dad's gruesome murder? 2, 3, go! Doting father and Microsoft executive Jared Bridegam was viciously ambushed in an upscale neighborhood in Jacksonville Beach, Florida in February. He was driving home with his daughter Bexley, who was buckled up in her car seat, when cops say he stopped his vehicle to move a tire that was obstructing the road. That's when he was gunned down. Police believe the tire was left in the middle of the street to lure him out of his car. Bridegan's widow, Kirsten, says their daughter is struggling with what she saw. What does your daughter remember from that day?
She remembers the sound of the gunshots. She often refers to them as the boom, 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 boom. She remembers her dad being on the ground.
Kirsten is sharing this heartbreaking video captured on a security camera inside Bexley's bedroom.
I will protect Mama. Nobody can hurt you. I love you. Thank you. And I really want you to stay here. Make sure the bad guys don't hurt you.
She says things like that often, and it breaks my heart as a mother that my own daughter, my 2-year-old, is trying to comfort me when, she's one of the biggest victims in this.
So, who killed Jared Bridegam? Questions have been raised in the media over whether his ex-wife, Shanna Gardner Fernandez, was somehow involved. They had a contentious divorce and custody battle, but did reach a settlement before his death. Police have not named anyone as a suspect. Do you think that Jared's ex-wife has something to do with this?
I'm not comfortable saying yes, definitely, unless there's evidence to back that up. But I believe her actions since his murder have been very suspicious, and they don't sit well with me.
What have been her suspicious actions since Jared's murder?
She asked me to return library books and give her a copy of the death certificate 12 days after he died.
Gardner Fernandez says she did not have anything to do with his murder. Kirsten says she just hopes the person or persons responsible for her husband's murder are caught soon.
Nobody is safe until they're behind bars.
I will protect Mama.
There's a $55,000 reward for information leading to an arrest.
So yeah, for me, that's heartbreaking. To hear your young daughter say that, yeah, it plays with my heartstrings, definitely. Anyway, moving on. As I said to you earlier on, I'm not going to go in depth about everything because I think there's so much that could be covered, and also so much that needs to be uncovered. Where the murder happened, it was in a way a clever spot for the murderer, for the killer, because it was on a stretch that had no cameras, minimal lighting, very deserted in a way. So you would think that the killer had good knowledge of where he would be and where best to kill him. They know that it wasn't like a carjacking or anything like that in terms of someone who's with him, because his wife had spoken to him on the phone and she said nothing sounded out of the ordinary. He sounded fine. So with that in mind, and the person that found the scene and found Bexley, thankfully it was estimated about 3 minutes between the killings and that witness finding the scene. They know that because they heard shots being played on like a Ring video on a house that wasn't too far away, so they could correspond things. So they had a good timeline to work from, but the only problem was they had nothing to go on. First thing they essentially got on that gave them a good lead was that they did witness on cameras seeing the 2004 to 2008 Ford F-150 pickup truck flee in the area. But there's so many of them in the area, it's like picking a needle out of a haystack, So, but it's a start. It's a start, and it was a good start, So, who's leading the case was the Jacksonville Beach Police Department, and to them, they felt after questioning everyone that this was a murder case, because from everyone they spoke to, everyone said the same thing about Jared. He's such a nice guy. Lovely guy, doting father, doting husband. He's the last person to have any enemies. and between dotting everything together, they perceived it was a murder. So with that 4 pickup, that was their main lead. And then thankfully, after it going so quiet for so long, they actually caught someone. I will cover things in more depth or chat to people in more depth, but I'm very conscious about making a long video about it. So I got another video here to show you that will probably explain things much better than I can about who this, I don't want to say killer because he's innocent to proven guilty. So they arrested this man. No one knew who he was. Well, the family didn't know who he was. But yeah, this video will show you who he is, and it'll cover a little bit, and I'll speak briefly about him afterwards because that was the first step in opening a little bit kind of worms, I think. So let's watch the video.
Police have made an arrest in a mysterious murder of a Microsoft executive. 33-year-old Jared Bridegam was killed almost a year ago in front of his 2-year-old daughter over in Florida. Fox's Jake Karalexis is in Washington State tonight. So, Jake, what's the latest on this investigation?
Well, Rashi, we're a few hundred yards away from the house where Bridegan's ex-wife, Shanna Gonsalves Fernandez, moved recently from Florida. Her second husband, Mario Fernandez, was renting a Jacksonville property to the man who was charged with Bridegan's murder today, Henry Tootin. Bridegan was gunned down while he was driving home to St. Augustine after dropping his twins off with Gardner Fernandez. He stopped to check out a tire in the road when he was shot. The two divorced back in 2016 and had been battling over finances and custody of their children. The Jacksonville Beach Police Department charged Tenon with 4 felonies. He's been in jail since August when he was arrested in Jacksonville on unrelated charges. Police aren't sure if Tenon pulled the trigger and say he wasn't the only one who played a role in Bridegan's murder.
Conspiracy to commit murder. We know Henry Tenon did not act alone. Conspiracy to commit murder is a first-degree felony, punishable by up to 30 years in prison.
And Tenon is scheduled to make his first appearance in court since his arrest tomorrow morning in Jacksonville, in West Richland, Washington.
Right. Just in case you didn't hear that right, because I had to go back and watch it again when I heard it. The guy they arrested, Henry Arthur Tenon, 61 years. He's been in jail before and stuff like that. He was a tenant to Mario Fernandez. Mario Fernandez, the current husband of Jared's ex-wife. W.T. Wow. Right. So that comes out. And then obviously the police have been saying, yeah, he's not acted alone. So he's up for, murder, second murder with a weapon, accessory after the fact to capital felony and child abuse. Just to cover the child abuse one, he didn't actually abuse the child or anything. It was more the fact that if the child is there, that the child was left alone. So that is abuse. Because when I first read child abuse, I was like, oh. But then it was explained he didn't touch the child, he didn't do anything to the child. As far as we're aware, it was just because of neglect. He left the child. Anything could have happened. So when I heard all this, I was like, well, I mean, so Jared and obviously his ex have been going through a bitter divorce. It comes out as she's been making a lot of stuff and accusations up against Jared, and Mario has been a part of that as well. They both want, well, basically full custody. They don't like each other anymore. He ends up dead, and the person that kills her is a tenant of her husband's. Yeah, tenant of her husband's, because he runs. He's got loads of like apartments and buildings he runs and owns and stuff. So I'm still in shock, right? Because when I first saw this guy, I was like, "Why? What's his connection?" Because people didn't know him, and it came out then what his connection was. Wow. So my brain instantly went, "Well, she's guilty, he's guilty, but she's not guilty." But Mario has. So Mario, on March 16th of this year, 2023, has now officially been arrested. Quite interestingly, Jared's ex has not been arrested yet, but she's lawyered up. She lawyered up, like early doors. Early doors. I think she did one interview, which I can dig out at some point for another video. But she's been acting. No, I've got nothing to do with this. Nothing to do with this. Okay, fine. Okay, breathe. Because I was about to say, what the? We don't know if she's involved because obviously she's not been arrested. But come on, you know, come on, surely. And I know innocent until proven guilty, absolutely. But that's in a trial situation. For me, this is now investigation. How is she not involved? Is my question. Maybe she's not. Maybe husband was like, a current husband was like, "Do you know what? I've had enough of all this. The only way this is going to be sorted out with a divorce is if Jared's gone, and she doesn't know anything about it, and he just, arranges to get Jared killed. Done." That it could be that, but like my suspicious mind, you know, I don't know. Anyway, that's really something to look out for, though. What happens next? Because the interview I'll show you now is, you know, obviously the family of Jared are happy that people have now been arrested and stuff. But Kirsten, his current wife, gives a bit of an emotional um, speech thanking the police department and happy about the arrests. But like she says, I think she knows there's more to it and there's more involved. And I think there might be more to come. So I think this could be an interesting case. I'll play that for you now, and I'll come back and we'll we'll finish off this video before it gets on too long. So
We are here today feeling many emotions. We have great relief knowing that two of the people behind my husband's murders are now behind bars and are no longer a threat to our family. We are also still angry that they were walking free while we were grappling with the reality that Jared wouldn't be here for any future memories, vacations, or tender moments with our kids. Angry that our youngest, who was 6 months at the time of his death, will have no memories of her father. Angry there will be no new memories for Liam, Abby, Bexley, London, or anyone who knew and loved Jared. We have fought hard for the truth, and the world now knows what we have known all along, that Jared truly was an innocent victim. Since day one, those in charge of the investigation promised us that they would be relentless in their pursuit of accountability and justice, and they have been. We are grateful to the state attorney's office, Jacksonville Beach Police Department, the ATF, and any other agencies that have been involved in this investigation. Justice for Jared will not be stopped, and we will not be silenced. We know there's still a long way to go before all those responsible are truly held accountable, but today is a very significant day for our family. Thank you.
well, you heard it as well as I did. Kirsten spoke from the heart. She said, "Till all those responsible." Not going to speculate, but as I said, I think there's more to this story, and I think in the coming weeks and months, more and more will come out. So I'm hoping that you guys join me. Anyone interested? Look, we could do I don't know, a live stream on it or something. Just have a chat. You don't have to just type. I could have you on actual stream to discuss this, Kate, if you're interested. I think this is going to be a very interesting case. It's a very sad case. So I'm going to be covering it anyway. There's a lot more detail to all of this, but you could make probably about 5-6 videos easy for this. But I want to do it, as and when they come out. Um, Probably give more information out. If people want to research with me on it, happy days. It's going to be a tough one because they've kept everything quite guarded. They've done well. Complete opposite, I think, of the Murdoch case. I've similar vibes to the IDO 4 case, where obviously everything's embargoed. Under seal, as you would say, embargo, I say. So there we are. Thank you very much, everyone. Chat in the comments. A lot of you do, and I appreciate that. Some of you message me on Twitter. I appreciate that. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at DYLAN12D. Follow me there. I'm also on TikTok. The handle of that is the same as this channel. The alternate corner. I had to think there for a second. So join me there if you want. I'm a bit like Marmite there. You either love me or hate me on there. Well, I suppose I'm like that anyway. Doesn't matter. Just TikTok, Twitter, and this as well. But thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Please get involved. I see a little community gathering together now on the streams and stuff like that. Long may it continue. I love it. I love your input. I say I learn a hell of a lot more out of you guys than you learn from me. So I really appreciate your time. And with that, I'm going to stop the waffle again. And yeah, thank you. Have a great weekend or great week whenever you listen to this. Take care, guys. Ta-ra.